Yo, we good. We good. I got the mic on today. Yeah, we making improvements already on the channel. Not lying. We dead serious about what we doing right here. So I went and got a microphone. Please let me know as you watch these if the audio quality is good. If it's bad, please let me know. All my live readings are going straight to my YouTube channel. So if you missed the live, any portions of the live, don't even trip. All this is going to be available on YouTube for you to watch it later. You know what I'm saying? Welcome everybody to another live book reading. We are live currently on TikTok on my poems and push-ups page until Books with Vaughn gets the requirements to go live on the actual channel page. So if you're watching this right now, please follow Books with Vaughn. Once again, let me go ahead and comment that on the line real quick. Excuse me, YouTube. I got a comment in on the line. And we're going to turn the mirror off because I didn't like how that looked. Okay, so we're going to do books. Dot. Follow pen. There we go. So Books with Vaughn is the actual channel TikTok. Yeah, let me fix it. Oh, I'm tripping. Alright, we cool. I think that's good. But right now, man, for those who don't know, this your first live, this your first time on the video. We are currently reading The Freemasons, A History of the World's Most Powerful Secret Society by Jasper Ridley. And yesterday's live read, we read chapter 1. So like I said, if you missed it, you can check the YouTube, Books with More. You can catch up, man. But without further ado, we hopping right into chapter 2, man. I don't be wasting no time. Let's hop right into this, man. Chapter 2, The Heretics. However, wicked the Masons might be in forming their illegal trade unions, they were perfectly law-abiding and respectable as far as religion was concerned. They did not challenge the almost universal belief that the authority and doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church must be accepted without question. The two St. Johns, St. John the Baptist and St. John the Evangelist, were their patron saints and feast days of St. John the Baptist on the 24th of June and of St. John the Evangelist on December 27th were the 2 days in the year which the Masons celebrated. They also revered St. Barbara, who protected Masons against lightning, and 4 crown martyrs. They were 4 Masons in Roman times who had emperor were locked alive in a lead coffin and thrown into a river. 42 days later, their bodies were rescued by a Christian who hid them in his house. The Masons were as closely tied to the Orthodox religion as all of the other lottery companies and trade guilds. The charter of the Masons Company of Newcastle required them to play the burial of Our Lady St. Mary the Virgin in the plays performed on Corpus Christi Day every year, and the Masons Company of Chester acted with the Goldsmith Company in the destroying of the children of Herod. The first of the charges imposed on Masons by their guilds required them to do the duty of God by avoiding all heresy. They believed that the handful of dissidents who challenged the authority of the church were heretics who should be severely punished. As early as the beginning of the 13th century, small religious sects as Albi in the south of France were opposing the Catholic Church and were being denounced and persecuted as heretics. By the end of the 14th and the beginning of the 15th centuries, John Wycliffe in England and John Huss in Bohemia were alarming the authorities. In England, new acts of parliament enacted that heretics were to be burned alive. Huss himself was burned at Constance in South Germany in 1415, and several lawyers, as the heretics were called, were burned in England. So what we're reading about is the Freemasons, and at this moment in time, it's telling you that the Freemasons never went against the doctrine of the Roman Catholic Church. In many aspects, they agreed with it, and they were not to fall victim of heresies. And if you were to fall victim of heresies, you would, you know what I'm saying, to be punished, burned alive. You know what I'm saying? So it was extreme punishment back then to go against the norm of religion. Saying so. Let's keep reading. Welcome everybody to the live reading. If you're in here popping in and out, we reading about the Freemasons. So, um, yeah, let's keep going. The Lollards and their successors in the 16th century, who followed Luther, Calvin, and Zwingli and other German and Swiss reformers, came to be known colloquially as the Protestants. They challenged Orthodox Catholic doctrine on a number of points. They believe that in the communion service, the wine and as well as the bread should be given to the lady and not reserved for the priest alone. They believe that priests could lawfully marry. They believe that men attain salvation by faith, by the correctness of their beliefs, and not by works. And at a time when it was generally accepted that the works which were ensure that men and women went to heaven and not to hell was to give money to priests and monks to pay for their souls. Above all the Protestants disagreed with the Catholic Church over the nature of the presence of Christ in the consecrated bread and wine. Their theologians had all been trained in the philosophy of Aristotle, which distinguished between the accidents and the reality of an object. The accidents were its apparent shape, feel, smell, and taste. But the true inner reality was something different. There was no doubt that the consecrated bread and wine looked, felt, smelled, and tasted like bread and wine. But the Catholic Church believed that it really was the body and blood of Christ. Catholics and Protestants disagreed as to the nature of Christ's presence in the bread and in the wine. And the Protestants disagreed with each other about this. Was it real corporal presence as a Catholic doctrine taught? Or was it a real but sacramental presence? Or was it not a sacramental but a spiritual presence? Or a not spiritual but a figurative presence? Or was Christ not present in any sense at all? Was the sacramental bread, as the most extreme Protestants believe, simply bread? Despite their disagreements about the nature of the presence, they were all agreed on one point. Anyone who had the wrong belief about it should be put to death by torture. So that don't make he's telling you that Protestants and the Roman Catholic Church had disagreements about what they believed in. But they believe that if you don't believe in what I believe, you should be tortured. That don't like you like the hypocrisy in that. Oh, I believe in this, they believe in that. But if you don't agree with me, then you gotta go. That's wicked work. But let's keep reading, man. That's wicked work. And they can't even get on the same page about what they don't even agree on. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? It's whatever, man. Let's keep it acting now. For anybody joining in, we talk about Freemasons. This is what we read about. That great 16th century intellectual Sir Thomas More put the matter very clearly. He believed that heretics should be burned alive. Heretics, atheists. So another word to describe that. So when we say the word heretic, we talking about people who do not believe. So we would be talking about, in our terminology, people who are, I just said it. I just forgot the word. What are they, bro? Atheists. They atheists, basically. So, okay. He believed that heretics should be burnt alive, that princes should punish them according to justice by most painful death, but as a punishment for their heresy and as a deterrent to others. What? In the name of, but they telling you all this is in the name of God, dude. They telling you if you don't believe in what we believe in, we gonna hurt you in the name of God. Hey, bro, this wicked, bro. That's all I'm saying. That's wicked, bro. A painting which was formerly in the Prado Museum in Madrid shows the holy work of the Catholic saint from an early period. The picture is called Saint Dominic Convert to Heretic. It shows a naked heretic tied to a post while the saint with the halo around his head holds the flame of torch up against the heretic's painted. What? Bro, what? It's really that deep. It's really that deep. Y'all got boys tied up to a pole, lighting them on fire, bro. In England, burning alive was considered to be a sufficient punishment for a heretic. Sometimes his friends, having bribed the executioner, were allowed to supply the heretic with a bag of gunpowder to tie around his neck, so that when the flames of the flyer reached the gunpowder, it would explode and immediately. Whoa, this is weird. I don't even know. Hold on, bro. Let me, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know if this appropriate. This joint might get me cooked. Hold up. This joint getting graphic. Hold up. I gotta protect my integrity of my page first. Hold up. Can I talk about stuff like that? I don't even know the rules on it, man. Basically, what they saying is, you know what I'm saying? They cooked you. If you ain't believe in the doctrine that they was proposing, you believe in they cooked you, boys. They tied them up and they burnt them. What they, you know what I'm saying? They did that to them. Real life cooking them. So dang, I'm gonna skip past that. I just paraphrase for it. They cooking people. They lighting people on fire. Real rap. They lighting people on fire. You don't believe in the Roman Catholic or the Protestant doctrine that they was spewing out in what is it, 1415? They was burning you alive. Real rap. So let's keep it going. In England, the Masons and their London Livery Company and then their other organizations approved of the action of the government in burning the small minority who challenged the authority of the Pope and the Church of Rome. Then in 1533, King Henry VIII repudiated the papal authority because the Pope would not grant him a divorce from his wife, Queen Catherine of Aragon, which would allow him to marry his mistress, Anne Boleyn. He persuaded his parliament to pass an act which declared that he himself, the king and not the pope, was the supreme head of Church of England, and anyone who denied this was a traitor and was to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. This meant that the traitor was to be hanged but cut down while still alive. He was then to be castrated and disemboweled, and his entrails were to be burnt before his eyes. He being still living only then was to be put to death by having his head cut off. But while Catholics who refused to repudiate the papal and accept the royal supremacy were hanged. Hold on, bro. Hold on, man. This joint just got super wicked, bro. Bro, this joint just told you that in 1533, the king coerced with Parliament to pass laws that said he was the supreme head of the Church of England. And if you went against anything the king said, he had you cooked. You know what I'm saying? He had you tortured. Yo, King Henry VIII in 1533 told basically declared he himself was the head of the Church of England. And if you went against what he was talking about, he had you put down, man. Said he had you listen. He said you got hung, but you got cut down while you was still alive. And then they cut your stuff off, right? And then they burnt it in front of you. They lit it on fire. And then after that, because you were still alive, they decapitated you. All because of the king, King Henry, bro. So let's keep it rocking. It's getting spooky. So that's telling you what happened when you went against the Catholics, the Roman Catholic Church. So when you went against the Roman Catholic Church, they cut your stuff off, they lit it on fire, and they cut your head off. So here we go. Protestants. So now we're about to learn what happened with the Protestants. Protestants who denied the real presence and believed in other heresies were still burnt alive. The Mason Company and the other city livery companies accepted the royal supremacy over the church and believed that it was right that papists should be hanged, drawn, and quartered, and the Protestants should still be burned alive. But a very small number of individuals did not approve of killing and torturing heretics and traitors and other dissidents. Some of them rejected the most fundamental truths of the Christian religion. They kept their views very secret. In October 1539, an 80-year-old professor of the Sorbonne admitted on his deathbed that he had been an atheist for 60 years since he was age 20, and he did not believe in God, though he kept it a secret during his lifetime, as he did not wish to be burned as an heretic. There was a rumor that one of the cardinals in the Vatican also admitted on his deathbed that he had always been an atheist. What? Bro, it's telling you that these boys is working for the Vatican and dying and telling the people on their deathbed they don't even believe in God. What? You work for the Vatican, bro? How you work for the Vatican, pass away, and tell them people on your deathbed you don't even believe in God? That's crazy. This said in 1539. So in 1539, when these popes of the Roman Catholic Church and people of these positions was passing away, they was telling people they didn't even believe in God. And the reason why they kept it a secret because they ain't want to die. You got people running the church that don't even believe in God and didn't say nothing because they ain't want to die. Hey man, tighten up, coach. The English Protestant writer John Fox held unorthodox views about burning heretics. In 1563, he published the first edition of his Book of Martyrs, in which he gave the names and described the sufferings of the Protestant martyrs who had been burnt during the reign of Catholic Queen Mary Tudor. He did not approve when the Protestant Queen Elizabeth I burnt Anabaptists as heretics and unsuccessfully tried to persuade her to pardon them. He admitted a little shamefacedly that he was not too tender-hearted and he could not bear to see even animals killed or tormented. Bro, they basically telling you that in the 1500s, bro, if you wasn't down with the Roman Catholic Church's doctrine, bro, they was knocking you off, bro. And people just accepted what it was, but didn't believe in it the whole time. But they just they didn't want to feel that pain. That is crazy, bro. This is in the 1500s, bro. We in the 1500s. It was like that back then. It was like that back then in the 1500s. Them boys can't believe in what they talking about right now. They can't. There's no way. The London Protestant merchant Richard Hills in the 1540s went even further. When he left King Henry VIII England to travel on business to Frankfurt Fair in Germany, he ventured to write letters to his Protestant friends in Switzerland, which he would not have risked writing in England. He disapproved of burning anyone as a heretic. However strange and outrageous his opinions, he did not approve of traitors being hanged, drawn, and or quartered, or that the property of convicted traitors was forfeited to the king so that their innocent children were made to suffer for their father's crime. What? So if you ain't get down with the get down, bro, they took all your stuff. And what are you reading? Bro, I'm reading a book about the Freemasons. I'm reading a book called The Freemasons, A History of the World's Most Powerful Secret Society by Jasper Ridley. If you missed part of this reading, don't worry, it's going to be on the YouTube channel. I got a whole YouTube channel. All these things is going on YouTube, so you can watch them in their entirety. But right now, we talking about basically like the free. So we talking about the Freemasons' religious stance, and the Freemasons never like went against whatever said doctrine was. Because back in that time when they were starting off as an organization, they would kill them. You know what I'm saying? They was getting murked. They was murking people. The Roman Catholic Church was getting busy. You know what I'm saying? They was getting busy. They was putting you down. They was lighting you on fire. They was cutting your stuff off and all that. It was getting crazy. So they kept their beliefs a secret, so they didn't. So as a survival, that's how they were surviving. So that's what we reading about right now. That's what we reading right now. So let me hop back where I was at, bro. Let me hop back where I was at. So the people who held these advanced beliefs in favor of religious toleration were obliged to keep their views very secret. If they had been found out, they would have been punished more severely than Masons who attended meetings of illegal trade unions. When the Protestants had won power in England, Scotland, and the Netherlands, they inflicted cruel punishment on Catholic fanatics who obeyed the call of King Philip II of Spain and the Pope to assassinate heretic sovereigns. So here's the thing. So let me break that down. So the Roman Catholics was murking everybody who ain't believe in the Roman Catholic thing. And then the Protestants was murking everybody that believed in the Roman Catholic thing. Make sense? So people didn't pick sides. They just was like, cool, I'm with whatever. But how I really feel, I'm gonna keep it a secret so they don't knock me off. You know what I'm saying? That's basically that's what I'm getting out of it. Maybe y'all getting something different. If y'all getting something different, bro, let me know in the comments. What do you say? What do you say? I'm keeping up. Dang, I'm keeping. Let me move this a little bit closer so I can see this, John. Bet. Bet. All right, let's roll. So now it's telling you that once the Protestants, once they switched the religious factions, once they got power, they did the same stuff. They just punished and persecuted the other people who ain't believe in what they believed in. So let's keep right. In England, Queen Elizabeth I reluctantly accepted the advice of her Secretary of State, Lord Burghley, that it was illegal to impose a more cruel form of death than hanging, drawing, and quartering, but she was satisfied when Burghley assured her that with an efficient execution, her death by hanging, drawing, and quarter could be very painful and prolonged. In Scotland, Catholics who murdered the Protestant regents were broken on the wheel. What? Bro, how long is this chapter, bro? No, it's not that long. We gonna rock it out. When William the Silent, Prince of Orange, was assassinated by the Roman Catholic zealot Balthazar of Gerard in 1584, William's Calvinist followers tortured Gerard for 4 days before he was executed. First, they carved pieces out of his flesh with the points of quill pens and poured salt and vinegar into his wounds. Then tortured him by distorting his limbs on a rack, and finally, on the day when he was executed, they cut off his hands. What? And applied red hot irons to the wounds before he was eventually put to death by being torn apart by wild horses. Hold on, man. They doing too much, man. But it's doing too much. Yeah, they wildin', bro. They super wild. They wildin' about their beliefs, bro. Yeah, they just told you, bro. They just told you they cut dude open, bro. Pulled salt and vinegar in his wound, cut his hands off, then tied him to a horse, and then let the horse run in opposite directions and rip this dude apart because he ain't believe in their doctrine. That's wicked, bro. And they, like you said, this is religious persecution. So this is all in what they believe to be in the name of God. You know what I'm saying? They're doing this in the name of God. Because that's what this is, religious persecution. That's wild. That's wild. They falsely told him his attempt to assassinate William had been unsuccessful, so he should believe that his sufferings had been in vain. God dang. 26 years later, another Catholic fanatic, Francis Revellac, assassinated King Henry IV of France because although Henry had renounced his Protestantism and converted to Roman Catholicism, he had ended 30 years of civil war by issuing his Edict of Nantes, which granted religious toleration to the Protestants. After Reveille had been tortured to induce him to name his accomplices and the bones of his legs had been broken, they threatened that if he persisted and denied that he had any accomplices, they would fetch his innocent old father and mother from Angoulême and torture them before his eyes to make him speak. Bro, they just told you the king switched up his belief system and they went and got him, bro. Yeah, like this the king. The king passed paperwork that was like, yeah, you can't do this no more. And they went and snatched him up. King Henry IV, bro, of France. They abducted the king and tortured him because of his religious beliefs. Hey man, hey man. And then they said if he don't talk, they gonna go kidnap his people. His mom and his dad. They said they gonna go get his people. What? said when he was taken to the place of execution, his right hand, which had held the dagger which he had killed the king, was burnt off, hot lead, burning oil, scalding water, and poured over the hot wood stump of the head. He was kept in the line of agony for a half hour before fastened to the horses with the God dang. It said it took 3 times. Said they tied him to the horses and they ran off in separate directions 3 times before it ripped him apart. Hey, yo, it's spooky, bro. Bro, it's spooky, bro. It was about the time that Ravaillac suffered in 1610 that a new religious sect, which became known as the Rosicrucians, arose in Germany. Their doctrines were first expounded in a book, The Universal and General Formation of the Whole Wide World, which was probably already circulated in manuscript in 1610, though it was first published in Kassel in the Rhineland in 1614. So, alright now. So now we get another type of religion. So in the 1500s, it was Roman Catholicism and Protestant. That was the main religions in England at this time. Roman Catholicism and Protestant. You know what I'm saying? And then in 1610, we get another religion out of Germany called Rosicrucians. The Rosicrucians. It's a crazy. We need to get. Hell yeah. All right then, bro. Appreciate you, bro. Yeah, check it out on YouTube. The rest of this will be on YouTube, bro. It's books we're going. All right, let's get it cracking. Let's finish this. It describes how a member of the sect, while wandering in the woods, had come across the grave of Christian Rosencrantz deep in a very ungrown part of the forest. He found on a little table beside the tomb the books which Rosencrantz had written. From this, it appeared that Rosencrantz had been born in 1384 and had lived to what then almost heard of age of 106 before dying in 1490. After traveling in the East and imbibing its wisdom in his books, Rosencrantz wrote about his vision of a future paradise in which men believed in a God or supreme being who attached no importance to the subtleties of 16th and 17th century religious controversies and whom people of all different religions could worship while granting religious toleration to all. Many people believe that Christian Rosencrantz had never existed and that the whole story about finding his tombs in the 3 books in which Rosencrantz expressed his theory had in fact been written by Johann Valentin Andre, a German Lutheran theologian. Certainly Rosencrantz's doctrines, his fantastic visionary ideas, and his deism seem to have some links with Lutheranism, and his books contain a fierce attack on the Roman Catholic Church as the great religious prosecutor. Within a few years of the publication of the books in 1614 and 1615, some German Rosicrucians had visited England, where they found a few English philosophers who were sympathetic to their ideas. The most enthusiastic of these English sympathizers was Robert Flood, a young gentleman from Beerstead in Kent who had studied medicine at St. John's College in Oxford. He was also interested in mathematics, alchemy, philosophy, and theology. He was very friendly with another student at St. John's, William Law. Both Flood and Law were members of the Church of England and had no intention of becoming Roman Catholics, but they did not hate Roman Catholics, as many Protestants did, and saw no reason why Protestants and Catholics should not be friends. In 1598, when he was 24, Flood went abroad for 6 years and stayed with aristocratic Catholic families in France, Italy, Spain, and Germany. He found that he could be very friendly with them without agreeing with their religious opinions, my bad. When he returned to England, he qualified as a doctor of medicine, but spent so much of his time reading and writing about alchemy, philosophy, and religion. He was attracted by the doctrines of Rosicrucians in 1616, the year after the publication of the second of the Rosecrans books. The reputation of the Brotherhood. He wrote 2 pamphlets supporting the Rosicrucians. He now believed not only that Protestants and Catholics could be friends, but their dogmas should be replaced by a simple religion which merely accepted the existence of God and the need to lead a moral life and do good. His friends at Oxford, Laud, engaged in ecclesiastical politics and due course became Bishop of London and Archbishop of Canterbury. He was not the first or the last progressive intellectual who was so disgusted by the intolerance of the revolutionary opposition groups that he became their persecutor as an agent of royal despotism. As Charles the First, Archbishop of Canterbury, he sat in the court of Star Chambers, sentenced his Puritan rioters and their supporters to whip through the streets of London from Temple Bar to Westminster Palace Yard, to stand there in pillory and to have their ears cut off. After the Revolution of 1640, he was arrested, condemned as a traitor, and beheaded to the joy of all his opponents of Charles's tyranny. His friend Flood did not live to see his downfall, and he died in 1637. This is insane, bro. This is insane, bro. There were more people now than there had been in the 16th century who were shocked by the horrible cruelties committed by both sides in the name of religion. At the beginning of the 17th century, after the savage 30 years of religious wars in France, the Netherlands, and Ireland seemed as if Europe had had enough of religious warfare and that the Catholics and Protestants might agree to live together in peace. Then another war of religion, the 30-Year War, broke out in Bohemia and raged through Germany from 1618 to 1648. Bro, they are literally telling you that for 100 years, bro, they were fighting and killing each other over a belief system. And they were all doing this in the name of whatever God that they believed in. They just, bro, they was fighting it since what, 39? They was killing dudes about their religion in what, 1533? 1533 just told you there was a war that went from 1618 to 1640. Bro, they fought a 30-year war about religion, bro. And y'all wanna, man, y'all better get right, bro. Them boys was putting blood down, bro. Them boys putting that pain in about this stuff, bro. Another war of religion, a 30-year war, broke out in Bohemia and raged throughout Germany from 1618 to 1648 before Catholics and Protestants agreed to end it by a compromise of peace, with some states being Catholic and some states being Protestant. But by this time, about one-third of the population of Germany had died in the in England, Scotland, and Ireland. The civil war between king and parliament, which began as a religious war and very largely remained so, caused far less life than the 30-Year War in Germany, but it convulsed British society. It ended with the restoration of King Charles II in 1660, when an intolerant government of supporters of the Church of England persecuted Roman Catholics and Protestant nonconformists, while at the same time intellectual societies like the Royal Society, which were devoted to scientific research and non-religious interests, flourished under royal patronage. The people who believed in religious toleration and the possibility of friendship between men in different religions, and the simple faith in God and morality without theological complications, were still a minority of these populations, but they were becoming a growing force among the intellectuals. Some of them became Rosicrucians, some of them did not join any movement or organizations. They became Freemasons. And that's chapter 2, man. Yeah, man. So in chapter 1, we found out that the Freemasons were just regular people who organized against unfair work conditions during the Middle Ages in Europe. We're talking from at least the 10th century forward. These were master architects. They built all the churches and the cathedrals in Europe. They did all of that. Today, we found out about their religious beliefs and that they kept all their ideology to themselves and kept them secret because during this time period you got killed and were persecuted based on what you believed in. So this is where they get their secrecy from. For order for the Freemasons to thrive as a society, they had to keep everything a secret because they could have got persecuted for what they believed in. It went against the norm. So I want to thank everybody who tuned in for today's live. Hopefully you learned a lot. If not, and you're missing the lab, don't worry. This will all be on my YouTube channel, Books with Vaughn. I need to figure out how to my page and all that. I'm trying to get that page up in followers. So if you're following this live on this page, please go to Books with Vaughn and follow so we can go live on that page. So we can keep everything on the same platform. But it's a process. We're gonna grow. This is going on my YouTube. There's a playlist on my YouTube called The Freemasons. Feel free to click on the YouTube channel and watch the whole live read in its entirety back on your own time if you miss parts of it. But once again, thank y'all for joining. And I see y'all tomorrow in the next episode, man. We're gonna start chapter 3. And chapter 3 is called the 17th century. So we're gonna be learning about the 17th century tomorrow. But y'all have a blessed night, man. Peace, love, prosperity, man. I'm out this, y'all.